Hey, Dorianda.
Hi Thea, how are you?
Good. I was going through my mail going, okay, I think we're using the WCC's link, but I was getting the spiral. So,
The zoomy spiral of doom.
yeah. So, I don't know if my camera's going to be able to stay on or not. We'll see.
Hi Stephen. Hi Drew. Hi Margaret.
Hello.
What's up with you got
Hey.
COVID or something?
Oh, no, 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 no. My camera, my eyes are burned.
Oh,
No, my camera, sometimes my Wi-Fi doesn't let my camera stay on.
oh,
But I have this, Stephen. Does this count? Can you see that?
not quite. I can see the bottom of your foot. You got a boot.
A
She's got a
fancy
boot.
boot.
The
I've got a boot. I got the boot.
You've been out in a boot.
I'm ready. You can give me the boot.
You can give me the boot. Margaret says she won't.
Margaret, you're almost at the 6 month point.
I know. I know.
Hang in there.
It's downhill from here.
And you're doing an awesome job.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, you are. Looks like we've got Eric joining us.
Who's
So
Eric?
we're just missing Julie, right?
We're missing Julie and Megan Kemple.
And did you invite Claire? Like we talked about?
You know what? I completely forgot.
That's all right.
Darn it. So busy. Shoot.
I haven't seen Megan since I went for a walk to talk about Whitaker history with her long time ago.
Yeah, we're excited to chat with her. She and I had been trying to connect for quite some time, but we just couldn't make it work. And so I said, why don't you come to this night? And that worked. So let's see.
I think we're gonna have to. I'm gonna scramble. Just so that you know, I think Doriandra, if you can fill up the meeting on next Wednesday, that would be great. All except for Julie has agreed to talk about what happened at the meeting for Scobert Park.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just keep that in your mind. There were a bunch of emails today. I think that you were on them, but regarding the guy for the county.
Okay. All right.
But I'm gonna guess that we're gonna be told it's a little, a week is not enough time.
Okay. All right. Well,
But I'm not sure. We'll talk about that later.
we'll talk later. All right. Well, we may as well get started. Hello, Megan. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I just thought we'd do a quick round of introductions. Maybe starting with Margaret.
Hi, my name's Margaret. I am the chair of the Whitaker Community Council, and I'm just here to be in awe of Doriandra's show and show support.
Thank you, Margaret.
Yep.
How about Thea?
I'm Sia, and hi, Megan. I'm part of the would be Parks and Safety Liaison for WCC and been on the board since, I don't know, on and off since 2007. And here to support all the work that Doriandra's been working on. And I've helped her in and out for a couple years on this stuff, off and on, right?
Yep. It's been a long road. So, all right, Thea, pass it to someone else. You were a school teacher, you choose.
All right, Drew, you're up.
Oh, shucks, kids. If anybody doesn't know me yet, I'm now bookkeeper, tax preparer for this organization. And was sort of voluntold I should at least show my face off around these parts. And so here I am.
We're glad for it,
Thank you.
You picked, Drew. It's bingo night.
Well, the only other name I see on my list here without scrolling too much is Anand. Unless it's just his Fathom.
It's his Fathom.
Fathom.
Okay, Megan, you're next.
I'm Megan. I am a Whitaker neighbor, not on the council. I live on Cedar Street over by Sladden Park. And I'm kind of informally the CERT contact for the neighborhood, or just have been doing a lot of emergency preparedness in the past.
Great. We are so glad you're here.
Pass it to Stephen.
Yeah, I'm Stephen. I'm not on the board either. I attend meetings and contribute when I can. And we got trained by Megan on the Know Your Neighbor project about 3 years ago, I think it was, before COVID hit. And I also had some contact with Megan talking about the history of the area for the which ended up in the 200-page report that we just delivered to the board written by Dr. David Lewis from Oregon State. So been some water under the bridge since I last saw Megan. Welcome. And I will pass it to Eric.
Eric, are you there? Maybe he's getting situated. So, maybe-
Welcome, Julie.
Yep. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Thank you very much for making it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm Julie Bowman. I am, I guess, a volunteer on this committee and got voluntold also I should come. No, actually, I'm really happy to be here. I coordinated the activities at Scobert Gardens Park this year and have been showing up to meetings more and more. And I'm excited to hear more about what we got going on tonight. I live at 3rd and Adams, and I've been a resident in the Whitaker since the early 2000s, and I own a business in the Whit as well. And I came late, so I don't know who else has not talked yet. Sorry.
I think we all did. We're good.
Okay.
Looks like we may have lost Eric, but maybe he's having some connectivity issues. I'll keep an eye to see if he comes back with us. Well, excellent. I thought we'd just start with a quick kind of grant overview for some of our new folks. And I know some of us have been through this a couple times, so pardon the repeat. But here is what we have. And I have a bunch of screen chaos. Now, I think we've got an issue here. Sorry, folks. 1 second. We'll try again. All right. Oh, and we got Eric in the house. There we go. And can you all see that okay? All right. I'm sorry to give you the whole picture instead of the nice little tidy slideshow, but it tends to get frazzly and weird. So let's see. So this is our basic quick outline of our grant deliverable cycle and what we are shooting for in terms of blocks of time. We're working in sections right now of a 6-month cycle, which will end on December 31st. And then from there, we will be funded again for the completion of the biennium, which will go through June of 2025. So we don't know yet what our funding will be, but it could be substantial. It could be somewhere similar to where we started. But in any event, we have a large kind of parameter of what we can do within the grant, since this is a pared down and more kind of community-based project than what we've done in the past that was so dependent on infrastructure. So we started in August, and I've been working on kind of these basic tenets here of trying to identify models of planning within Lane County to see how they would work for the Whitaker. It seems like there's a lot of disparate groupings of emergency planning, and as tends to happen, I think the Whitaker gets a little bit lost in the shuffle. We have a really intensely unique need in the Whitaker. We have some complex issues that create dimension, I'd say. And we also have a great community of unhoused, which would really need support if things go crazy. So part of our planning was to really look at the models and see how to pare it down for the Whitaker. The second thing was to work with kind of a co-location plan, which is what we did during the pandemic with our other projects. And that was like pulling together different community-based organizations to see where that intersection was, where we find really solid partnerships that can elevate the plan, the message, and the training. So we're doing really well through that. I found in this structure that I couldn't really find a lot of groupings that would partner with us for various reasons. But I think the primary excellent partnership thus far has just been in our basic CERT community. There's just such great resiliency there and real modes of doing things, which are great. We've just started to kind of lean into the business relationships in the Whitaker, which we'll go into a little bit later. That I think those two elements, our businesses and CERT planning, is really going to be where we get strong with partnering. So right now we're in the October and November sequence of our deliverables. And this is what I'm really excited tonight to dive into with you all and look at these elements. You know, we've got a whole kind of collective goal of having these emergency resilience events, which I'm so excited you're here, Julie, because you're just fabulous at that. And within these events, we would be doing a series of things, distributing go bags, getting people excited about that, which is great. Our grant allows for incentivization through gift cards. So we'll be spending some money with Bruns Red Apple Market to get folks the basics that they need according to their own family needs or structure. So that will all be happening at these events, as well as, and thank you, Megan, for coming tonight to chat through the Map Your Neighborhood, because I envision a whole disaster resiliency event that has multiple things happening, and these would just be all elements within it. So, and we can go into all that a little bit further, but that's where we're at for October and November. And then December, I'm hoping that we have had our first event at that point and we begin to just dial down to look at how that would work. Are we ready to share that with other neighborhood associations or start partnerships there? And then also to dial in how we really begin to train and relay this information to the community. And then, of course, we'll begin planning our new stages based on the new funding that will happen in 2024. So essentially, that's a quick little snapshot of what the process is. Oh, I see Eric there. Hi, Eric. Glad you could join us. So that's the quick rundown. And Eric, would you like to introduce yourself real quick? You're on mute. We can't hear you. Oh, let's see. Maybe you are stuck on mute somehow, huh? Because we just can't hear you.
As the host, can you unmute him?
I did. Well, darn it. Let's see.
Yeah, he's unmuted now. There's no microphone.
Yeah.
Durandra, why don't you tell us a little bit about Eric?
Okay, I will jump in and Eric, just interrupt me if you get your voice to work, because we want to hear from you. Okay, so Drew, my dear colleague Drew there was so there you are, Drew. Thank you. Excellent. When we were really trying to find a larger way to begin our marketing process for this plan, you know, a huge part of the past successful WCC campaigns and programs has been creating really good infrastructure that is pushed out social media. We've done billboards, we've done TV, done radio. So I really wanted to start with a really strong lead on design. So we're fortunate to have been referred to from Drew to Eric. Eric's a community member and has done great work for some of our local familiar businesses that we love to attend, Oakshire, Takavor, I'm sure a host of many others. So we were hoping to invite Eric tonight to just begin to think tank a little bit about what the committee would like to see as that initial marketing push. We know we've had great graphics in the past, and there's a lot that goes into a logo. I would like to share real quickly with you folks this kind of a placemaker one that our board member Claire Roth did just on the fly. She is super talented. And this is let's see, are you guys seeing that? No, we're stuck over on this. Just one moment, I will try again. Well, darn it. All right, let me see, maybe I can, oh, do folks see that now?
There it is.
Beautiful, all right. To me, that was a great start of a logo. I loved the circular fashion of it. And I know that Eric and I were talking about maybe just a jump start placemaking. So can we hear you yet, Eric, or no?
I think can you hear me now?
Yay, we can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zoom is my absolute enemy. Like
Oh.
it never. I am the one at every meeting that always has problems, and I can't figure out what exactly it is. So, yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm much more capable with design programs than I am with Zoom. I guarantee that. But yeah, my name is Eric Keskes. I've been doing art for most of my life, but design for the last 18, 19 years. It was previously mentioned, I did work in-house at Oakshire and kind of oversaw their whole rebrand like 6 or 7 years ago now. Did Takavor for Steve when he opened that up. Just good relationship. Have worked in the WIT. I haven't lived in the WIT. I'm on the edge. I'm kind of at Jefferson West Side, so I'm kind of at that bleeding edge of 3 neighborhoods. So depending on which direction I walk for 3 minutes, I'm in a different neighborhood. But I'm well aware of opinions in the WIT and the fickle nature sometimes of working on something just the right way to try to make everybody happy. So I'm going into it with a little bit of experience on that side.
Well said. All right. Go ahead, Thea.
Hey, I want to show you what I have from the last time, and I think Megan was involved with this, so I hope it'll show up. Oh,
Mm-mm.
let me get my
Don't
camera in
see
the
it.
right. Ooh,
Can you-
it's not going to do it.
Can you
I'm
back
going to have
up?
to fix my camera. Oh, wait,
Oh,
that
wait.
works.
It almost did for a second. Yeah, I think if you turn off the blur background, it would.
I will turn off the blur background. It's a Whitaker Go Bag disaster recovery with our logo. It has our address and our webpage on.
Can you take a picture of it? And Briandra, can we have an email list with everyone on here on there?
We sure do. Yeah.
And perhaps Thea, you could take a picture of it and email it to all of us, and we can just see what we think.
Yeah, I can do that.
That would be great.
I love the tagline, "Don't get scared, get prepared." That's good. That's the biggest thing, the paralysis of fear.
True. Yeah, it's a thing that it's just scary thinking about stuff. It's hard to fathom it. So yeah, when Eric and I were chatting about design stuff the other day.
Oh, there it is.
That's better. Yeah.
Now we see it. Is that the outline of the neighborhood? Is that what?
Yeah, that's the boundaries of the Whitaker.
Oh, how cool. That's really nice, Thea. What does it say in the little print down there? Oh, now you're on mute, dear. Oh, jeez.
Too much thinking. So this is Whitaker Community Council, our PO box, and then our website.
Nice.
So, and I gave this to all my tenants, one to all of them when we were trying to get rid of them all, because Kathy Feely had, I don't know, over 50 bags left when we were done with this. And it had fun things like a safety light,
Mhm.
a can opener, fork spoon, a safety whistle,
Mm.
to give you ideas, duct tape, a rescue blanket, and I had to use the matches out of it, so I have to replace those. And a couple other things in it, but
Fine.
and
That's a fine list.
it's very large.
Does it like,
It's a
is it
Can
a
you use it like a
It's 3 foot.
backpack?
it's a drawstring,
drawstring? Yeah. Interesting.
and it's about 3 foot by 18 inches.
Wow. Okay. That's excellent. I didn't know such things existed before. That's really neat. Okay, so and thanks for the little tour of what was in it. That's helpful for us as we think about how we're going to build these things. But I love the idea that Eric could design a logo for that unified thing across the page, whether it's a go bag marketing, whether we're using it in our grant reporting, all of that. So as a committee, do folks have any kind of input for Eric about what that design would want to hold in it in terms of, will you talk about that a little bit, Eric, how we're
Yeah,
talking
you know,
about
my biggest thing with design is simpler the better, especially with something like this where you really want it to communicate the message. My initial thoughts of what we could work with was, what's the symbology of preparedness and relief and any other sort of messages we're trying to communicate. And while it is kind of a hack choice, I have to put my my design pride aside and say, like, a red cross. It says it. The cross is first aid, safety, relief, care. It works for everything. So it's something like that where we could take, not obviously just make it a red cross like it's a first aid kit, but maybe bring some of the wit into that, bring some little design elements into that. If we're looking strictly at disaster, I mean, I know what's on our minds really is an earthquake. Fortunate or unfortunately, grew up in the Bay Area. Was in Loma Prieta. I know all about earthquakes. I know all the symbology that goes on with earthquakes, but I don't know if up here we're really super aware of the seismograph or the rings of epicenter bleeding out. But maybe those are something that we can work into that design. If there's anything else, get one of those things where you can throw in everything, and that's great. But typically, how I'll design is design a mark that's pretty simple, succinct. I'll do a word mark that goes along with that. Those two things can coexist. Those two things can be broken apart separately. But usually, I'll add a suite of secondary logos, tertiary logos that can kind of go along with that. So in this sense, they'd be icons. We could say, what are the 5 key things that we're looking to prepare for? And maybe make little icons for each of those, or what are the 5 ways we can help? We can have little icons for those. So those things can work. Maybe if we go with something, any sort of communication can be, the logo is really hard. And then what are the 5 values that we're working towards that we want everybody to remember? So, a lot of times with these public service campaigns, you're looking for A, you know what it is. B, these are the things you want to remember every time you see it. And you know exactly who that is, what that is. And then from there on out, you see that logo, you see any of that design elements, your eyes got to be drawn to what needs to be communicated to you. So that's in a nutshell, the basic way I like to start, at least.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, I feel like the earthquake symbology or somehow to portray that seems really relevant to me in terms of the worst thing that could happen. But Stephen and I like to joke around that whatever we don't prepare for is what's going to happen. So, Megan, I think you had your hand up first, and then Margaret.
I really like the idea of having a really, when you said, think about maybe the 5 things that we want to prepare for, 5 type of events is what I think you were talking about, and do some kind of graphic representation of those. I really like that actually. And I kind of would lean toward doing more than one, is to help people understand that it's not just an earthquake, you know, it could be a flood, it could be a fire, it could be, but have them be small enough that they're not like, this is in your face and super scary. And then I like having the don't get scared, get prepared with them. And then some kind of helping supportive energy with the whole thing.
Yeah, one question I'd like to ask real quick, if I could interject, I'll just maybe jump in as people are commenting so I can not lose track of comments. Is there anything in this plan that's maybe tied to taking folks in from other communities in that case, or is it really pulling together like this strikes the Whitaker, how do we do this? But we also know that, you know, with the hospital closing and these communities bleeding together so much, especially in our neighborhoods, is there anything you need to communicate about that, about like okay, this is how this is going to work if we're not as affected and we're spared by something, you know, do we welcome other parts of the community, and is that on the radar of preparedness?
Indeed.
Do we need to communicate?
Indeed, it would be. I think, though, for the purposes of our grant and the Whitaker Community Council's other portfolios of public health campaigns, we really try to focus immediately on the Whitaker. But there's always a great interaction. You know, I mean, we vaccinated, for instance, many people outside of the Whitaker, but our work was focused as a hub inside the Whitaker. So it's a great question, and I think it's an overlay that would happen naturally, but for marketing purposes, I think it's
not on that hierarchy. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Margaret?
Hey, I just wanted to say, so I'm from Southern California too, and grew up. I remember the big quake in 70 something, and it was it was not a lot of fun. But for me, and this is part of why I think it's great that we're all here and that we all get different opinions. I think that fire is on more people's mind in the community than anything. And so Megan's suggestion about, you know, taking 5 different things, because if we have a fire that's big enough, then it comes into town, we're going to have a flood. It's just going to happen. You know, the trees are going to end up in the river, and they're going to end up over the dam and blah blah blah, you know, worst case scenario. And it's possible that it will happen, and every year it gets a little bit closer. So for me, that's a huge thing that is on people in the community's mind. That's what I hear when I go outside, is people talking about every year how the fire season is getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do we need to protect ourselves from the fire, but, you know, when the air quality is 600 outside and they tell you not to step outside of your house, that also comes into the, you know, I think that should be considered in this campaign.
Yeah, I imagine ice storms is probably on your list as this as well, of losing power over a matter of days for winter weather.
Yeah, done that, been there, done that right here. So yeah.
And something I wasn't aware of, I was down in Creswell, 4th of July. I went to their little museum, and apparently there was a windstorm in the late 60s that was really devastating to the area. So the little things that we don't account for. I mean, I think one of these things, we could probably come up with a list of 20 things that need prepared for, but let's, you know, if we can get 20, that's a great problem to have, and then we whittle it down to those 5 that you really want to see iconically.
Right. We are in the flood zone as well, so
for sure.
Here's I put a little sorry to interrupt, Margaret. You're
good.
I put a little chat link there for you guys. This is the business intake, and those were kind of, when I talk to people in the city and whatnot, the things that we see in that list are might be a great starting point. They've already, many of them have been mentioned, but it was the wildfire, smoke, fire, earthquake, flooding, power out. I don't know how you really depict that. Excessive heat, ice or snow, and then the train derailment. So
Yeah.
I think most of those seem to kind of follow one another in a way, or some of them do. So maybe if we just focused on earthquake, fire, flooding, and train derailment, that would that's a good 4. Anyway, Stephen,
Yep.
we can narrow it down, but this is a great start.
Yeah, we may need to decide what's happening with Train Song. Apparently, we had been asked if we would allow them to become part of our planning group. If Train Song is going to be part of us in the immediate future, yeah, Margaret.
So Train Song has actually asked to be part of the Whitaker. Train Song has 800 homes, and that's it. And they have not had their own council and their own representation with the city, and I don't know how many years. So we have been approached by a few people that live there, and have been asked if they could join our council, which in many ways would be a positive thing. It would give us a little bit more money. They experience a lot of the same issues that we do, and they're connected. It would just increase us just a little bit, and it would also increase our volunteer pool. However, that would mean that Train Song would become the Whitaker, from what I understand, and they're still working on it. There won't really be a plan until January or February about how that can even happen. And how that can even happen, we may not even know come election time. So they've been welcome to come to the meetings. As far as joining a committee or any of that, they don't live in the neighborhood. So according to our charter, they need to work, own a business, housing, or live in the Whitaker.
Thanks, Margaret.
I was going to follow on from that. Train Song would increase the risk of the train derailment followed by explosion and fire, since they have a lot of train traffic going through their area. And so I think that's a factor to think about: Train Song and train derailments and fires and explosions.
Okay.
It's only a block from my house, so I think about that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Blast zone is the word people use.
Right.
Chemical derailments as well. I mean, it's like Ohio has really shown that, where
Yeah.
the blowing up was an intentional act, but the aftermath is, that could be really devastating. So yeah, I like that idea.
Indeed. Okay.
Can I say something, Brianda?
Yeah, please.
So, some of you have been to meetings and some of you have not. Some of you have been involved in what we're doing, some have not. Brianda and I talked last week and talked about the fact that now there is a regular meeting when it is an hour before. Traditionally, it's been an hour before the general meeting. Is that correct, Brianda?
Yeah, we have that on our agenda after Megan. We were going to try
Okay.
to, as a committee, decide about a new, better time that fits better for people. That's not, so we're not doing 3 hours a meeting. So do you mind
Which
if
would be great. And
Yeah.
I just want to say too that those of you that were involved when we were doing the COVID campaign, that for me, in my mind, that's kind of what I want to get back to, where we all have a job and we're all responsible and we all are part of a team, that not everything falls on Doriandra. So it's not the Doriandra show per se.
Yay.
that everyone does something, and you know that we're all we all can take something, because there's a lot to what we're about to do. Like Julie, we'd be perfect to take that to different businesses. I don't know if you looked at what she posted, but she emailed it to a bunch of people and nobody responded. So that means we need to beat the streets and go say, hey, how would you feel about being a place? And if everyone took a responsibility like that are volunteers, that would be fantastic if we could approach it that way.
Thank you, Margaret. Let's continue that. We want to thank Eric for coming, and also, invite you to stay if you'd like, but I'm sure you might want the rest of your evening back. Either way, I'll connect with you later and we'll kind of hash out more. We've got a great start on what we want to see represented, and I loved your idea about the little logo. So thank you.
Okay, that sounds great, and then thank you for your time. And yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. And
no worries. Yeah, and
to reach out as well if you want to just put me on whatever list you guys are communicating through. I'd be happy to just
great.
Sometimes you're walking around, you just see something, you have an idea, put it on the list. Everything helps.
Great, thank you. And please feel free to stay. We're gonna hand it over to Megan now to kind of talk about the Map Your Neighborhood program. So
I'm gonna duck out and actually get started on working. So you guys have a fantastic night, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
All right, Megan. So please to hear what you've got.
Okay. So a little bit of background about some information that I have that I think might be really helpful for some history that might be helpful for the committee to be aware of. Before COVID, I was participating in these meetings regularly, and I just stopped because the focus shifted to COVID and the public safety, public health focus, which I'm super supportive of, but it just wasn't my gig. So I stepped out for a little while, and I'm ready to dive back in and join these meetings regularly. But at that time, I did some work to do outreach to the neighborhood through the Whitaker Community Council, through this committee, around disaster preparedness, emergency response. And we did Facebook posts, and I can't remember, actually, I have documentation of all the outreach effort that we did. And basically there was just a message that said something like, are you concerned about disasters? And would you like to be more prepared? If so, contact Megan. And then I created a list of people who responded, and I have about 30 people on my list who were in the Whitaker 5 years ago or something. I can look and see what the date when that list was created. And then there was a survey. So we have a survey form that asks them a series of questions. Are you a CERT, a community emergency response team volunteer? Have you done Map Your Neighborhood? Are you a medical professional? So a bunch of questions, and the form is still live and can be used for our purposes for this project if we need it. And I have their personal information. I have their email addresses, and they're even, for a lot of them, their physical home address in the WIT. And I use that list to offer Map Your Neighborhood trainings. And very quick overview for those of you who are not familiar. Well, is there anybody who's not familiar with Map Your Neighborhood? Okay, I'll just give a quick overview. It's a process where neighbors gather together at one house on a block and get to know each other and get to understand what the specific needs of each household are in terms of maybe a special need that someone has in terms of a disability, or maybe there's an animal in the house, maybe there's a child in the house, maybe there's somebody who has a physical disability, as well as what resources each household has to offer, including things like, I've got crowbars, I know how to do electrical, a medical professional, crisis counseling, that kind of thing. And then go through 9 steps. I think it's 9 steps. It's been a while since I've done it. 9 steps that we can take as a neighbors on the block together in the event of an emergency. So check on each, secure your home. Look, there's certain things you check on each other. And we create a map together, which is super, super valuable. Of the most important part of the process, and the part that's most meaningful, I think, is having a connection with each other and understanding of who's who. We leave often with the information, getting to know all the neighbors on our street, anybody who we feel comfortable connecting with. So I have done that training. So I offered that training. I said, do you want to do this with your neighbors? And I offered that training, and I think I did maybe three trainings in my house. We pre-practiced, did a pretend one, and everybody went through the process, and Stephen was there. I trained, there are about 30 people on my list. About 10 people got trained, and no one except Stephen actually followed through and did the map your neighborhood with their block. So a year went by, nobody but Stephen did it. And then COVID hit, and no one was really willing to have other people gather in their living rooms for 2 years. And then I have done some announcements to that group where I've done little drills on my block, radio drills and practice, checking the hood and reporting up to the city. I am a CERT, and I am not a ham radio operator, but I do have the radio skills to send the messages up, and have been through all those drills to send the messages up to emergency communication. So I have an idea about how we could use this grant to build more community connection and resiliency through the Map Your Neighborhood process. And what I'm visioning is potentially, and this is just kind of, Doriandra said, go kind of pie in the sky or go think big. And so I'm just going to lay out like what my best case scenario would be. That I should say that I work full time. I cannot train every block lead with Map Your Neighborhood. I'm hoping that we might have some funding through the grant, or there might, I don't know Doriandra's capacity through the grant. We might have some funding to have someone trained in Map Your Neighborhood so well that I'll tell you a lesson learned, that even if I trained people, they didn't do the process with their neighbors. And so what I came to was, if you want to do this, I'll come to your house and just lead it with your neighbors. You be there and you're the block captain, but I'll run the thing. I'll run the Map Your Neighborhood process with you. It's like I facilitate the meeting and we leave all mapped out. And then the person who's the host is the block lead. They're kind of, some people call it like the block captain. I don't like the captain word. So kind of the block lead. So if we had capacity, somebody with the council who ideally would be paid, or not, maybe someone has the volunteer capacity to do it, I just do not, would be available to lead that process with any block of people that wanted to do it. Any person who wanted to be a block lead the Map Your Neighborhood process, and then they would leave and say, I'm your support person, but you are the block lead. And if you do a practice drill with your hood, with your block, in 3 months from now, you get a radio. You get I'm wondering if the grant funds could purchase handheld radios, not a ham radio, not a fancy radio, just the walkie-talkies that we can use to communicate within the hood. So you would get a radio. It might belong to the Whitaker Community Council, but you would have it to use. And then people would do the practice drills. In the case of a real emergency, they'd be calling up to me. I would be kind of like the Whitaker radio lead, and I would send the messages on up. So that's just a vision of a potential structure, which would require some resources from the grant.
Go ahead, Margaret.
So just a couple things, just so that you know, Megan, since we're a nonprofit as well as a community council, we can't pay any board member, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't contract somebody out if that's the
Yeah.
direction that we went. So when you say a block, what
Mhm.
do you mean? So like I live on Monroe, and Fifth Valley. So would my block be between 4th and 5th on Monroe, or would it actually be a city block?
It would be usually it would be about, I think there may be like about 10 houses on each side of them, 7 or 8 houses on each side of the street in most wit blocks, but it would be
There's
the two
apartments, but
would
so
be
it's
the
just it's
it's a
the
little
block.
tricky with apartments. It could be one apartment complex, could be considered a little community hub, a little hub or block. But other on a street without apartments, it would be the houses on each side facing each other, 1 block long.
Okay.
One, not around the block.
So right, so between
Around
4th
the
and 5th, or between 4th and 3rd would be a block. Okay.
Thea?
When you did Polk
Can't hear you, Thea.
Street, because like Polk and Grand, I'm on Grand, we're really long. When you did
Oh,
Polk
yeah.
Street,
We don't have to figure out right now the length of the blocks or the length of, we don't have to figure any of that
I'm
out.
just curious. Right, I was just curious because like Grand Street,
Doesn't
we all
matter.
pretty much know each other, but
Doesn't-
it's really long.
Yeah, it doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter,
We can
okay.
divide it up any way we want. And we can divide it up into manageable. If I remember, I could show you some cool visuals, but I have a whole visual. They're kind of like hand-drawn maps. You take a Google map and you just kind of trace it, and you have everybody's house. And in fact, I have it and I use it as my, like, call your neighbor when something happens. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like. It looks like that. And then I have another little chart that says, okay, it's backwards. I know you can't read the numbers, I don't think, but it's like, oh, house number 25. I have a little note that you can see everybody's name. And then I have another place with a little more info about all of them. So that's what it looks like. And that's an example of the traditional length of those. Looks like there are how many?
Well, the city
19.
now has the houses with their numbers on the maps now. When you go to a city report to do a report, they now actually have the addresses. Which
Cool.
is
Yeah,
cool.
it doesn't matter for this. This Map Your Neighbor has a whole special like numbering system, but it's not a big deal. But having the city numbers, the addresses is great.
Thank you, Megan. Just so folks, this is what she's talking about when we're talking about the FRSs. These are just little tiny simple radios. They can go up to 35 miles if you get the right ones. And Megan, I'm totally familiar with what you're saying. I'm CERT trained too. I've been trained in 2 different states now, and I love the networking that you're talking about. And I had a question for you. You're saying you would be the person that, like, once neighborhood people are all going to you, then you're pushing that higher up to comms, and then that goes to the city. Yeah. Okay. So that's a critical point, y'all. What she's saying, that's great that you're trained to do that, because that's what we need. And we need one person that then pushes it up. So, okay, Stephen.
Just, I turned my video off because I'm actually eating and I don't want to make you jealous. Also, in response to Margaret, when we did the Map Your Neighborhood or Know Your Neighborhood, we identified our neighborhood as being from Cross Street on Polk, North Polk, from Cross Street to Railroad. And we included Emerald Village. Emerald Village is a challenge because there's a lot of turnover, and keeping up with who's currently there needs to be refreshed fairly frequently. There's also now 2 new apartment blocks that weren't there when we did the project. And apartment blocks definitely need to be treated as a separate unit. And they may have some existing systems in place, I don't know. But just to give an idea, that was about 8 homes between Cross Street and Railroad, not including Emerald Village, which was in addition to what we did. But we did not do the apartment buildings apart from Emerald Village. So just give an idea of the scale of what we did at our end.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret.
So I just want to know, so Map Your Neighbor, is this something that the fire department, EMS, the police department is? So if we ask them to come in and help train or be familiar with it,
No, I can give a little background about that. It used to be that it was an endorsed program, or I don't know if it would be formally called endorsed by CERT, by Community Emergency Response Team, and they've shifted away from Map Your Neighborhood. And I have some Whitaker pride about it. I think Map Your Neighborhood, they've shifted away from it to doing disaster assessment teams, which don't have the get to know your neighbor component. And I think that Map Your Neighborhood is perfect for the Whitaker. It's what we need, and we may or may not be able to access all the resources. So I have to figure out if we can get the booklets and such, because the city has had a hard time getting them. I have had all of them and they are all gone. So just some background that it's not a city thing. It's a Whitaker thing. It would be a Whitaker thing with some support from the booklets are government project, government funded. Mostly out of Washington, I think, but we'd have to see who's making them right now.
Right. Yep, that's correct. California is not even really doing it. And I think from my CERT understanding is that they also moved away from it just from a sense of safety, that people are so crazy right now in society. Things are like more tense. And so, but in larger cities, that makes sense. But I feel with you, Megan, that this is a perfect thing for the Whitaker. And then it's also a thing to think about in tandem with just normal CERT deployment, because that going house to house and, like assessment teams, that can happen also for.
It's part of Map Your Neighborhood.
Exactly.
That assessment.
Right, exactly. So, Julie?
Megan, I think this is the coolest thing I've heard in a long minute, and I love this idea. One of my favorite things about living in the WIT is that I know at least half the people on my block by name, not just the lady who drives the green Volvo or whatever, which has been my experience in previous neighborhoods. And I totally want that training. And I would volunteer to be somebody who goes to people's houses and helps lead it. I don't know that I'm the person who wants to do the position that you're talking about, but if there are a number of people who get together to do it, I'll totally be one of them.
Great. Thank you.
There's workbooks all over Google for Map Your Neighborhood.
Yeah, we can get them. We have me in the budget for that. I have about $200 that we could do that. We could get a first round of them. Again, we're in different little. Drew, isn't that right? We could pull, it's 185, but
Funding cycles.
Funding, we have some money to do that. So if we choose to get, because I know this stuff is going to cost some money but the point is, it would be great to have this so that people could talk about it and at least just share more and gain interest at our first event. So we would definitely want to get those materials, have Megan, Julie, we should be there talking to folks about it and showing people the materials of what it looks like. So yeah, I'm thrilled about it too. So thank you. We are running out of time quickly.
Real quick, does this change the budget that you presented to the board?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And we also have an email list for the WCC that would be great to add to whatever you want, are people that are residents that live, own property, or work in the Whitaker.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Folks, let's move on real quick because we've got a couple important things. One, this has been an incredible, exciting thing, and we want to keep this going in terms of meeting often. So typically, as Margaret was saying, we would do the first hour before the big laborious 2-hour board meeting on Wednesday. So this Public Health and Safety Committee would meet from 6 to 7, and then the board meets from 7 to 9. So that's hard for us, and Thea has expressed wanting to move this to daytime. How does that all work for all of you?
Doesn't work for me.
Megan says no. Oh, darn it. Okay.
But I don't need to be, I can coordinate with you directly, Doriandra.
Okay.
Megan, what hours do work for you and what?
I'm available after 5 on weekdays. I work from 9 to 5 every day with me intense schedule, so I cannot take a personal meeting during
Days.
on a regular.
From 6 in the evening till 9.
And what about you, Julie? How many days a week are you working?
I see clients Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I generally see them until 6:30 on
Right.
Wednesday and Thursday, and until 7 on Mondays. So Tuesday is a day that I'd have availability in the early evening or in the daytime. But it sounds like daytime doesn't work for Megan. So early evening Tuesday is a possibility. I can't do Wednesdays at 6.
Teamwork, Doriandra.
Okay. Okay.
Team and together everyone achieves more.
Yes, indeed.
What about you, Thea? Early in the evening on Tuesday, does that work for you on a week that wasn't a board meeting? Was that a yes?
Yeah, I just don't want to do from 6 on Wednesday till 9 on Wednesday night. So
Yeah,
yeah, if it's a
okay.
different night, yeah, that's fine.
So then what if we kept it in the normal spot of 6 to 7, but changed it to Tuesday?
Does that work for you, Drew?
Drew, does that work for you?
Provided I learn me where the unmute button is and know well enough in advance. Generally, most days evenings work outside of Monday nights.
Okay. Okay. This is feeling good. All right. Let's push for Tuesday at 6 to 7. Now, normally, again, we were meeting just once a month. I'm totally available to meet twice a month if folks can, or we keep it to once a month. We've got 2 more years of this program, so we don't want to burn out.
I have a suggestion.
Mhm.
I suggest that we meet twice a month until we're sure that we're on track to spend the money for the budget. And then as we get closer to the holidays, we'll meet less. Like we may not even see each other in December as a group.
Mhm.
You know, we're talking about October, November. In November, it's not going to happen the second week of November because of Thanksgiving.
Mhm. Okay, let's see. So let me quickly get it out I'll put it in the chat really quickly. We are at the 4th right now. So we are talking about if we do it every other, let me go back over to Tuesday. We're talking
So
about,
there's a meeting on the 11th and the 18th, so it would be nice to do it on the 24th.
okay, so we wait 2 weeks, we start on the 24th. And so that's one more, got it. And then November, we are, let's see, 24. So it'll be November 7th and 21st. And then December 5th. Then yeah, I doubt we'll be able
And
to.
then we'll take the schedule from there.
Yeah, okay, perfect, folks. I will send you this. Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, the third Wednesday between 6 and 7 does not work for me. It's the Human Rights Commission on the third Wednesday.
Oh,
Third Tuesday, sorry. The third Tuesday has the 17th of this month and 21st of November.
oh, darn it. Okay.
But
Okay.
I think if I miss one meeting a month, I can catch up from notes or speaking with Doriandra.
Okay. All right. I will send out some dates and gosh darn it, we are just out of time. I think the best thing we could talk about right now really quickly is the business outreach plan for the resource mapping. I put that link in the chat and maybe I'll get an email because I know we can kind of, if we could conquer and divide and get our businesses to respond to this, it would really help me. I've tried, but I think we just need some, like whoever's friends with so-and-so at so-and-so goes over and say, hey, look at this email, please. So please feel free to take that link.
Can you email it, please?
Yes, I definitely will email it too. Yep.
What's up, Thea?
I was just looking at the information in the link.
Okay.
I pulled it up when she put it in the, and then
Okay,
Stephen,
go
we
ahead.
weren't looking at the 17th, so I put that in there.
November 21st. These are the dates that I just figured out if we're going by what Margaret said. Do those look right for everybody? And I'll send them again, don't worry. Okay. That's fabulous. Thank you all for the ability to flex like that.
I
Tuesday.
will not be here December 5th.
All right. That's all right. You're going to be having fun. So we'll be okay
I'll be
with
in
that.
Rome.
All right, folks, I want to respect everyone's night. We didn't get to a couple things. The last biggest thing was just kind of think tanking about when our first event will be. And the rain is coming, but we have to push on. Drew had a great idea about some places we could maybe shuffle it to. So why don't I just send an email out about that idea? Unless everybody's got just a couple more minutes to chat through.
I can stay.
Okay.
I can stay a little bit as well.
Okay. We are thinking here about holding November 18th, which is a Saturday, as our first date. And having that date sorted soon is going to be great because we've got a partner with Shift Community Cycles. They'll be coming to do a mobile pop-up to help folks get bikes ready with trailers and whatnot for mobilization. So anybody see any huge red flags for them personally on November 18th?
No.
You do, Megan?
Megan?
Oh,
I cannot be there on that day. I will not be in Oregon.
okay. All right.
That's going to be a problem, is that it's awful close to Thanksgiving. People are going to be leaving town because that's the weekend before Thanksgiving week.
Okay, how about the first week? Why don't we push forward then into December? How about December 2nd?
Or we could,
That gets awfully close to Margaret leaving. Could the 11th work at all of November? Is that too soon?
the second is okay for me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Or December, you said? No, I won't be here.
That's what I was thinking, is that December
but
2nd and you're gonna be gone. What
I
about
don't have to be here.
Okay, how about
I mean, it's up to you, Doriandra, whatever you're comfortable with.
what about, no, I really need you there, Margaret. How about November 11th?
November 11th works for me if we don't think
That works
Veterans
for
Day
me.
weekend, the problem.
How about you, Megan?
I need to check my calendar.
Okay, we're
It
holding
is Veterans
breath.
Day weekend, just so you know.
Right.
So if that matters,
I don't know. I don't think that does. I mean, it does matter. It's a very important holiday, but
what is your idea at your event?
say that again.
What is the idea at the event?
The event is
Sorry.
we're gonna structure it just like one of our COVID clinics. We'll have Rocky with the pizza truck. We'll have certain pop-up booths that would hold information stations, such as Map Your Neighborhood, such as CERT. CERT will be on hand to talk to people. We'll also have the support of Shift Community Cycles, as I was mentioning, with a pop-up bike kind of repair space. I hope to have our beginning go bags there. And we'd have the gift certificates to pass out to Bruns Red Apple. So that would be its own little station of like a go bag station where you sit down, you get the kit, you talk about it. Like the first 50 people there would get one of these gift cards. So a lot of little stations, a lot of fun events, maybe a band. Scobert Gardens would be fabulous. Drew, what was the place you were suggesting to deal with rain? Under the under by the skate park?
On the basketball courts under the next to the skate park, yes.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Where
think,
it's covered and it's easy to access. You can drive or just walk down.
yeah, I love
You
that
can
too.
get permits for either one of those, right, Julie?
Yeah, that'll be easy.
Yeah, permits for either one is easy. November 11th is kind of scary for Scobert Gardens just because rain and soggy grass, even if it's not actively raining, it might be pretty mushy there by then.
Mhm.
And it's going to be under construction with the renovation, right?
Not till
Construction's not
25.
beginning till 25.
We also have the capacity to move back to our partners at Eugene Mission. Cheryl and I have been talking about stuff. The only hindrance to that, I mean, the good parts is that it's a fabulous indoor space. We have everything we need. We've done a lot of events there with them, but the problem is that it's harder for some folks without transportation to get there. And so we're starting in a rainy season, so it's half a dozen to the other. Thea?
WJ would be nice to get some positive activity into WJ,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
to start really getting positive activity. I got a dog park update about it too, but we could even possibly get them to do the fenced area if needed, you
Okay.
know, but the basketball courts are dry and they're dry all winter. So
Okay,
bathrooms close by and we could make sure they clean it up beforehand.
Better visibility.
I
Better
agree with
visibility
that.
too.
okay. That solves everything if we're not dealing with having to put pop-ups up and slog around in the rain. That feels really good. So, okay, is that Julie, would you mind reaching out to Cindy about that and see what that date looks like for them?
Yeah, so November 11th, we can communicate via email about details. I need more information before I can ask for a permit, but we can talk about that on email.
Okay, that sounds good.
I
And-
do have one suggestion. You
Yeah.
said that way we don't need pop-ups. I actually would suggest that we have pop-ups so that they can put up a sign that says map your neighbor, so it can say CERT, so people know what tent that they're going to.
We would absolutely do that. I fully agree. And we have them in storage and we have the capacity to buy more
Yeah.
if we need. I just meant like, thinking back to some of those clinics where Thea and I were out there in the pouring rain. It was like, oh God, yeah. Pop-ups to look good and be functional, not to keep us all dry. Thea?
Drew, do you have a contact at Tactics for the skateboard people? Maybe they do skateboard lessons for kids for safety in the bowl.
I bet we could make that happen. I don't have a just go-to person there, not being a skateboarder myself, but they're, I mean, I live a block away and they're pretty amicable.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, folks. Well,
Yeah.
Rupert's ready for a cat treat, so I think I gotta get off this off this meeting. Thank you all. This was really exciting. I feel a lot of great motivation and brilliant ideas. So we will all see each other on the next meeting, which is October 24th.
Are you gonna email all this to us?
I'm gonna email all of it.
You are the bomb. We're so lucky to have you.
Thank you. I'm
I'm
lucky to
grateful
have
for
you.
you.
All right. Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your evening.
And thank you everyone for joining us.
Indeed. Thanks so much. All right. Good night, all.